Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? I almost choked on that one. I had to clear my throat. At the same time, I had a funny thought. And I'm coming in, and it's the intro that I show up here every single day with. And today is Monday, and it is supposed to be my flake out day. But being that person that wants to make some movement in their life, we understand without that effort, without that extra, we can all just kind of coast along, not make waves, try not to have too many hiccups, too many wrenches thrown into our lives, but it's going to find its way in. And I think all these small things that we deal with in our everyday, day to day, is meant to help us in building that resilience, in having that little bit of practice in that everyday, day to day. So it doesn't seem like such a drudgery, right? I used to refer to it like going through the mogmire, right? Like you just it's so hard to make any kind of movement at all. But unless we make those choices, and unless we let those hiccups, wrenches, and failures, right, pop into our lives and just ride them, right? Adapt and conquer. Pay attention to them, right? So that the next time they roll around, that you'll better be able to handle them, or better be able to read in to what they actually are, which are little gifts in the end, right? And I'm grateful for however the lessons come across my path, right? Sometimes we need a little bit of a boot in our butt. Sometimes, right, we have to do that for ourselves. Kindly, right? And part of putting those extra hours in at work, that's benefiting my life. We are working towards a car, and those extra hours are going to help me out tremendously. Not just in acquiring that extra money that I'm going to need, those extra resources, but also to help me ground in this, right? In my everyday, day to day. And that is a big lesson for me because I could easily get lost in what I do in, right? Exploring the inside. But I am a realist and I believe that we are meant to see and experience the world as a whole, but because we're so standoffish, because we're so shy, introverted, a little bit maybe unbrave, a little bit unsure of, a little bit unsteady in our own confidence in what we can bring to the table, right? And the more we trudge along, the more we deal with the everyday, day to day, it makes it possible that, right, we might we might even not enjoy and look forward to it, but be curious because you know it's coming anyway. Be curious, what's next, right? Not like, oh, what's next, or I can't take one more moment of this, or are you kidding me? But like, oh, what's next? Am I ready? Have I been paying attention? Have I been playing with it a little bit? Have I been building up my own resilience? Right? Because again, lots of times we just want to kind of hang out where it is safe, where we're not making those waves, me included. But I truly understand, and I see it in my own life, the evidence in my own life, that sometimes you do have to make a mess to clean a mess. And that's a lesson, maybe everybody, right? It was a lesson I learned this week, and the air seems a little bit clearer, right? And it affects the inside, what's going on the outside, like 100%, right? So why are we so afraid, right? Because it only can get better when we hang out in the day to day. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. First perspective, just a couple of minutes. I've got to run off to work. Oh, a couple of minutes. Wow, I'm moving along today, right? I kind of like it when I do my lives just before I go live. I set everything out in timings and I allow myself 20 minutes in a live, and it kind of puts a time, because you know me, like I can get into it and I'll be here forever because I do enjoy what I'm doing. And I think, right, in the lessons, in my own experiences, right, conversations, friendships, relationships, peership, and in that teetering in what I know for myself and finding a balance in all of that understanding, right, takes all kinds to make the world, right. And yeah, we'll get into that topic because it is in top of mind right now. But yeah, not today. It's just still in the lesson, still in the absorption. Okay, here we go. Perception, you guys. And the first thing that comes to my mind is it is in my perception of what's going on in my surroundings. Being a little bit hypervigilant, I am, right? Kind of aware of everything that's going on around me. And sometimes and quite often it's just in the spectatorship because people are doing their own thing and they're not meaning to bump into your sphere. Sometimes you get a look or a little bit of a sneer or a little bit of a comment or a huff or something, but you're not really getting it for that interaction that you had, right? You're actually getting it for the last 20 little things that have been happening in their life that moment, that morning, even just in that morning, and just and you just be sitting there, right? That last one sitting on a nerve or triggering that nerve that just, right? Because the last person that did it to him, they said, the next time it happens, oh boy, right? And you just happen to be that person. But it is in our perception whether to take that personally or take it as a truth or stumble over us to course correct something that maybe we really didn't have anything to do with. Okay, I wrote one of my little sayings underneath here. It says perception is the learning process to a perspective, right? Because the perspective is the end. It's my perspective. It's my surroundings, my sphere, my world, right? But in that process, right? Right? Is the learning process. The perception is actually the process of learning to, right, actually get to that point where you know it for yourself. You know it as a truth. You get to that belief, right? You get to that belief, right? Perception. And each one of us has our own perceptions. It takes all kinds to make the world, right? And lots of us are literally all kinds, right? And sometimes in our own perception of what life is really divvying out to us, it's not just divvying out to us individually. It's divvying out to all of us. Anything that's in my vicinity, my sphere, my world, inside or out, right? And maybe that's a little bit of a controlling nature. I think it is just a slowing down, right? I'm not changing anything. I'm just going a little bit slower. I'm doing the baby steps because sometimes we go so fast, right? Right? We jump into something that we weren't ready for, that really wasn't meant for us. And sometimes we end up skipping the lessons, right? Because, well, topic of conversation this week. Wow, I'm doing good. The topic of discussion this week was me and my perception of some of those dynamic relationships in my life, and how if I had stopped in the lessons and where I was understanding in that moment, I wouldn't have really truly had a true understanding. And epigenetically, I am an extension of these characters. So when I'm speaking of somebody else, right, in my own dynamic family, I have to understand and take a look at myself, because we are the people that we surround ourselves with. And, we pick up things along the way, good, bad, right, wrong, right? And lots of stuff that doesn't belong to us at all, but also the things that come across our paths that are meant to course correct us, to catch our attention, to make us recognize the things that we're actually missing. And to each one of us, in our own perception, in our own day to day, right? We are in the lessons, and we are learning, and through our choices, each one of us gets to decide a little bit, right? It is a community project, but we have a say too, right? We're pointing that direction, and in our choices, we get to decide, right? Because this is our sphere. This is our universe. And it takes all kinds to make the world, right? And we can only control our own spheres, our own world, our own actions, and our own beliefs, understanding that the person beside us has got a different set of rules, a different set of pieces on that game board that they're playing with, right? Right? And if you get to hang out with them, get to hang out with them. So make some good choices of what we're hanging out with. That was a lesson for me. I know sometimes the heart pulls, right? Sometimes the heart pulls, but I think it's meant to pull. It's in that balance, right? That's where the lessons lay. Okay, I'm getting a little space here. I'm going off to ground in my job, knowing I got 2 days off. I had plans for tomorrow, but I guess they got a little bit of a wrench thrown into them. But I will make use of that day, and I have today to decide how I'm going to make use of that day. So I'm grateful for the heads up in that communication, right? And that's what it's about, communicating with ourselves, right? Communicating with other people. And I picked up this card that I dropped on the floor, compassion, right? A little bit of understanding that we don't have all the answers, right? And sometimes we mess up, and sometimes we drive ourselves a little bonkers, a little bit maddened, a little bit depressed in that, right? So if we can have a little bit of compassion for ourselves, right? And just take some baby steps and just put the heels in a little bit when you're feeling that way, right? Understanding, a little bit of compassion goes a long way. But sometimes we don't take that into considerations for ourselves. And that's a truth. That's a truth. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. I got an extra 5 minutes to get to the bus stop. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.